Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois. So we are approaching the last weeks of filming ever for the show of Superman and Lois. And though we won't be getting the first episode of this fourth and final season for quite a while, at least like what, another 6 months or so at the very least, we will have the first big moment when they do finish the filming for the show as a whole. And I'm sure there'll be some posts on social media when they eventually reach that point. But as I said, we're still a few weeks away from that. Now, as I said, probably said it more than a few times in this opening, 30 seconds or so of the video, that is still a few weeks away, so they will still have some big episodes left to film. Of course, one of them being the series finale, as you would expect. But, we have some, exciting characters coming into the show in this final season, and more specifically, these final handful of episodes. Now, one of those characters we know is that of Jimmy Olsen, who will be played by Douglas Smith. Now, that news came out about a week ago or so roughly, and with that news there were a various amount of theories and guesses as to where that character could show up or would show up, and just play into this storyline for this final season, with it looking like he would be showing up in episode 7 or something first, like that, to start off with. At the very least, that's where he would start off, around episode 7 or something, though there could be a prior mention to him, and maybe they even might record something in this filming period of episode 7 or something, and maybe it shows up in episode 5. Unlikely, but that can happen. But many, including myself, did assume that he would be showing up in scenes located specifically within the city of Metropolis, like the Daily Planet, for example, and other areas like that, which could still easily be the case, but we now are led to believe that Jimmy will be catching the bus, or maybe driving himself, or maybe being flown there by Superman, who knows, to Smallville. So on social media, we had these posts here. It was actually on the story, on Douglas Smith's story, I think it was, which showed Douglas Smith, as I just said, in the downtown Smallville set for Superman and Lois. So based off this, I guess we should assume that Jimmy Olsen could be coming to Smallville rather than us going to Metropolis to meet him, at least in the current day, with there being flashbacks that could then have him at the Daily Planet, mixing with Clark and Lois when they were back there working before they left to go to Smallville. Now, in that photo is his brother Gregory Smith, who in the video when we went over, talking about the initial casting of Jimmy Olsen, we did talk about how Douglas Smith already had a prior connection to Superman and Lois before being cast as Jimmy, and that was that his brother Gregory Smith had directed a handful of episodes in previous seasons, as well as a couple in this final season. And it does turn out his brother Gregory is directing his debut episode as Jimmy Olsen on the show. So stuff happens, fate happens, not miracles happen. Well, miracles do happen, but not in this case. I don't think this is a miracle. But with the debut of Jimmy Olsen, it will also feel like the show sort of like restarting a bit, not rebooting, but just sort of like, it's a bit of a fresh thing, which usually you expect going from season to season, not halfway through a season, let alone heading into its final episode. So though we're going to be entering the last handful of episodes, it's still going to feel like that a bit. And this is just due to the fact that we are going to get some new, characters coming in. Obviously the previously mentioned Jimmy Olsen, but also Amanda McCoy on the Lex Luthor side of things. But just before this, we will see the last episode of the guest stars for this season, who are, of course, the former series regulars, your Ironses, your Cushings, Chrissy Beppo, characters like, General Sam Lane, characters like that. Now, of course, some of these guest stars will have wrapped up in some earlier episodes, like we know, like Sam Lane's only in the first handful of episodes for this season, but then we know Sarah Cushing was in the episode previous to this one where Jimmy shows up, so she's going to leave the show. And then I think the next episode, Jimmy Olsen's going to be showing up. So yeah, as I said, it will almost feel like we're entering a new portion of the show, if not just almost like a rebrand of the show, despite the fact we're heading into the final stages of the show in the last handful of episodes as a whole. So that will be a very interesting transition, not only for the characters within the show and just seeing how they react to these new surroundings and whatever it might be, but also for the story of the show and how it flows and all of that, as we've had those supporting characters turn now guest stars for this final season since halfway through the pilot episode 1 of season 1. So though you want the focus to be on the Kent family and specifically Superman and Lois, if not more specifically Superman, in this final season, especially the last handful of episodes, it could also just feel weird because it's going to be like, I guess, organized a bit differently, and some of the relationships are going to be different, but that's for us to wait and find out, I guess, when we get to watch it. It will be interesting though, just because we know this change is coming our way. But another thing that plays into the Jimmy Olsen side of things, but also some stuff we did go over previously, is this post by Bitsy Tulloch on Instagram, which features a repost of the photo that Tyler Hoechlin, aka Superman, had previously posted, which showed Clark and Lois in the Daily Planet offices or the bullpen, whichever way you want to word it. And most, including myself, just assumed that we were here in the present day and they were doing some work there. We'd seen them last season go into Metropolis and they had Daily Planet accreditation so they could do their thing. So we thought, okay, they just might go back. The Morgan Edge thing isn't an issue anymore. With the Daily Planet, it's gone a bit more normal from after they, from when they left it, in season 1. And also, we just assumed that they'd be here in the present day, especially after the casting of Jimmy Olsen. But this post from Bitsy, as you can see on screen, it does read, "We know you all love the episodes with Flashback, so our writers delivered with the photos showing Clark and Lois at a baseball or softball game representing the Daily Planet." It's probably softball, I think. Don't they do company softball games? So I'd assume it's softball anyway. As well as some other shots in the Daily Planet offices and just, Bitsy taking photos of her getup that she'll be wearing as Lois. So this begs the question, are all the Daily Planet scenes that we've seen, them tease online, are they all just flashbacks? We knew there was some stuff going on in episode 1 because we saw that there was a photo that Bitsy took which had Clark and Lois in the Daily Planet. And we're like, okay, well, this is most likely a flashback because then there was nothing else really that Tyler Hoechlin did, which would have, I guess, represented the present day. And like he was away for a week while they were filming episode 1. Like he was in Europe doing conventions or something like that while they were filming episode 1. So that, does suggest that, Clark's not going to be in the present day, let alone Superman, but there will be some flashback scenes with him. But based off this, from what Bitsy's saying, all the Daily Planet scenes, I guess at least the ones she's teased at the very least, are all flashbacks, if I can speak correctly, and there's nothing in the present day, which very much surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. Outside of that, that episode 1 flashback scene in the Daily Planet, which was just evident because Tyler didn't film any present day stuff from what we know. But if that's the case, and it is all flashback scenes in the Daily Planet, that would explain, I guess, Jimmy Olsen showing up in Smallville, if that is him filming, rather than the actor just visiting his brother while he's directing in that area. But then again, maybe, Jimmy just shows up in those flashback scenes and he's not in the present day. And maybe when he was in the Smallville set, he was just visiting his brother. So maybe Jimmy's just a flashback character. Like, I think you would have Jimmy Olsen show up in both the past and the present if you got the clearance to include the character in the show, because he hasn't died, so I'd expect him to be in both the flashbacks of the Daily Planet, as well as in the present day, maybe visiting Smallville, whatever it might be. But here's the big thing. Are we going to be ruling out a return to the Daily Planet in the present day? And based off this new, not undercover, but these new revelations that, Bitsy's at least saying these are all flashbacks, it is hard to tell. I think most think it would be weird if Lex Luthor was still destined to go after the Kents in Smallville and not just focus on himself and his company and what's going on in Metropolis. And it would just feel like a bit of a repetitive thing from the end of last season if we just kept seeing Lex go back to Smallville and show up in Smallville. So we could just get it where the Kents stay based in Smallville maybe, and then we get scenes of Superman, Lois, and other characters, or I guess more specifically Superman because it can fly, going to Metropolis to do certain things if needed. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But another question people had was about those guest stars, or the former series regulars that we brought up before. As I said, they are now done from what we know. So no more episodes for any of them. As I said, from what we know, what's been posted online, it seemed like Sarah Cushing might have been the final, former series regular turned guest star to finish filming for the show. And I guess that makes more sense because of her relationship with Jordan and everything like that, that she would probably be the final one to finish filming. So would it make sense to not see any of them again if the Kents stayed in Smallville? Or do they all leave by that point? So just the Cushings leave in their own accord, the Irons leaves, General Lane leaves and everything like that. They all leave Smallville and the Kents are just the only group to stay there. Or, and here's, I think what they might do if that's the case and the Kents stay in Smallville and the other characters mostly stay in Smallville as well, it's maybe more of a strategic writing pathway that is taken where the characters and situations take place where those other supporting characters will not show up. So a lot of the times we see the Kent in Smallville, or the Kents in Smallville, might I say, they're in the house, or they're in the Smallville Gazette. They're not in the diner, not walking the street. They're not, whatever, they're not at school, whatever it might be. They're not in situations where you'd expect to run into those other supporting characters. So I'm assuming that could be what goes down if that situation is the case and the Kents do stay in Smallville and they don't write the other characters out of Smallville. But once again, like we have said a lot with this Superman and Lois stuff, because it doesn't get a lot of set photos and a lot of reports and everything like that, we'll just have to wait and see what goes down in the show when it eventually comes out. But some of the situational stuff that we have seen recently does pose a lot of those questions, but as I've just sort of said once again there, it's just something that we have to wait and see once we get the episodes in September, October, hopefully sooner rather than later, just so we're not guessing. But, as I said, we got at least like 3.5 episodes left of filming, so it's going to be very interesting to see if anything else comes out about that. I'm not expecting any other castings unless there's like a surprise, like just fun casting for the finale. They could do that. That's definitely an option there. Whatever it might be. That's a wait and see, but I could see them maybe doing that. But in regards to a consistent casting where they're showing up in multiple episodes meant to play into the story, like an Amanda McCoy, for example, I'm not expecting anything else like that, but maybe it's a fun surprise one for the finale. But that could be something where they just try and keep it secret. So then when we get to watch the finale, whenever that comes out, it's a surprise when you see the episode. They might not announce it, but then again, sometimes they use that as a bit of hype for the show as well. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and everything we went over in this video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.